Hey, there's peoples. I wanted to jump in here and check in on you, okay? Checking in on you because you have to go ahead and feel the pulse of whatever you're going through, and just really feel. You know what I mean? Went ahead and let the day go down to where it's got a light behind me here. You know, it's going to be walking into some darkness in here a little bit, probably. But that's hey, that's where the good stuff is at, I guess. You know, in the darkness, even by yourself, even by yourself. You know, I forget how I was listening to someone who said, "Hey, getting to know yourself and being number one with yourself and everything is really the thing to do, especially before you can actually go ahead and invite somebody for an adventure. If it's an adventure that people are looking for, even just to chill, you know. And going back to the fourth right there, it was it brought back this retrograde, and like I said, with these four planetaries going in retrograde right now, or already in it, along with Jupiter or Sedek. Okay, Sedek without the how you say righteousness, or even with the word righteousness without the NESS, NEOUSS. Hey, whew, we got a confirmation right there. Without the NEOUSS is actually, and not even to say right or left, but let's just say, correctness, you know what I'm saying? It's something that one has to go ahead, we have to do that by ourselves in order, like I said, before we even go into our day. Just put it in a simple form. It's not even going to partnerships, relationships, or whatever, but into the day, And the day is actually yod, which actually means hand. Okay, so whether it be, like I said, it's not really left hand or right hand, because this is just an avatar. Just an avatar. Been many different tribes, if when that word was introduced into the English language, which is really Latin, which is dead, which is backwards, and so therefore I guess we can look at it in a positive of a reflection as the word live is, and the reversal of that is evil. And I saw that even with myself, with cancer. Cancer being that of the mother of these galaxies, or zodiac houses, as we say. And then the south node is that going to be of Capricorn, which is called the devil. Same thing, backwards and forward. Mother and father, as we've been speaking on here lately. And again, depending on how you look at the word, it might be father, it might be that her. Okay, so I guess just like in tarot, it is gender neutral It doesn't necessarily matter because we are all of everything. You are everything, and everything is you. Along those lines, right there, and our perspective is going to be drawn from that. Meaning like Moses, Moshe means to be drawn from the water and everything. You know what I'm saying? So we are transcribing. First of all, reading. You have to read it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be through a book. Because if we've always been into existence, then it's just listening to ourselves, and maybe we can see the reflection. We definitely see projections of what through these lights and colors that we're traveling through right now, you know. And with that, that's what happened on that 4th of July. That's what happened on that 4th of July, for me anyway. As I was speaking on that, the 4th of July was, hey, Nikola Tesla was actually, all right, going ahead and putting up that tower to go ahead and give free energy. And again, it is up to us and our vibratory rate in which we are vibing at, and we go up and down, but the highest is even that in Cancer, which we're in right now, and that's 1185, okay, along with Sadek, which is wisdom. At the same time, in both, with the South Node with Cancer, is that of Capricorn, which is the devil, which is so it's again that middle path is so important to try, not just try, but to really stay on it, because it's easy to get pulled in one way or another, one side or the other, and pop our collar, and either way to the, hey, all right, we did that shit, or, we are badass, and at the same time, we also, like, astrologists and everything, so different types of astrology, as people have been explaining, to where we have the grandeur pictures or tracings and houses, sextiles, and conjunctions, all right? All those things that we're with and going through right now, squaring up right now, again, whether or not we're coming together building blocks like Lego, or you actually got to square up and fight that devil within you, and those devils that are without us, okay, that are about us. And about us doing what? About us either being that master visionary and building to be the foundation there, and then the first of all visionary, and then the master builder to even go ahead and completely build, different timelines to where you want to go ahead, or you, first of all, and your wants basically are going to come from before time, before this construct of time, okay? It's going to come back to where we go ahead and square that up, and we actually use a square. It is math involved, and we see that. I'll tell you how we see it, and you probably already saw it, but to go ahead and build that circle, and everything. And so within that circle, we have, going back even on these 14 generations, all right, that we have gone through, that we're chosen for at this point in time to actually do what it is that we said we were going to do, that we signed our contracts before coming down here to do. And within that, as we saw in 1884, again, with the Berlin Conference, all right? With the Berlin Conference, we saw the 14 entities that went in and went to go ahead and divide up Africa, which is Akabula, and at the time they changed it to Africa for just the chattel purposes, okay, commerce. And with that right there, we even go, now we're going to the stories that are all over. But we'll start right there within Africa, which is Egypt, which is different than Kemet. Okay, Kemet is here in Cali, all right? It's different, all right? And Kemet is where we get alchemical chemistry from, all right? And we saw that with the story of Osiris and Isis. And when Seth, and this is where I talk about that math, okay, which is actually M-A-T-H, and M-A, they put with Matthias, they put a double T on there, okay? And so that's math itself. That's math itself, which means temple. And that is our body. That is our body that we're down here in. And so that right there goes back even to the firstborn son thing of every, let's go with, just stick with 14. 14 people, 14 different entities came together and combined everything. And that's how we got this King James version to go ahead and make a body. And then we saw it was Bacchus before. We saw, even as we're in the month right now, of Tammuz. Tammuz is coming up here. That's what the July 17th is all about. That's even Yosef. Yosef means to gather, okay? Or Joseph, who was actually in the prison. And a lot of us are still in prisons and so forth, whether it be literal or whether it be inside of our own minds and bodies and so forth. That, as Kuan Yin was actually stating today, you know, how these prisons are getting more digital again. And we see that through time, because even when we go over to India, we have some carvings over there to where, hey, hieroglyphs over there to where we actually see the women. It was two women too, leaning up, playing on an iPhone and playing on a tablet. Okay, inside the ancient, you know, artifacts, you know, the hieroglyphs and shit. So basically, as we see also seesaw into the book of Yeshua or Joshua, to where chapter 10, he does go ahead, and it's Yeshua in the Ivrit or Hebrew, but Joshua, you know, for the English, the dead Latin, and a lot of things are flip-flop inside of there as far as the historical facts that was given, and there probably was historical facts given, okay? And facts doesn't mean to actually happen. Just like you don't necessarily you have to pay attention when they say it is believed such and such and such and such and such and such a happened. Well, that doesn't mean it happened. It was just believed. Okay? All right? And so this is where all those things, we have to be diligent enough to go ahead and search them out to see for ourselves what happened. Where was the fall at? Where was the fall? Okay. And but more importantly about this rising right now, this rising back up and everything, because what goes up must come down. And what they did is try to go ahead and uh, make it into a infinity, because we're talking about that het. We're talking about that's what the 17 is all about. Because you reduce that down, it's back to 8 again. That's het or jet, the jet eyes. Okay, and what happens is, so they want to go ahead and put it horizontal again. They turn the 8 to be horizontal to where it doesn't. There's no elevation right there. It's just going around in a circle again. So people go around in a circle. Matter of fact, inside of a figure 8. Okay, and we see this. I saw this right now with that of Matsuri. Matsuri. I just had to. It wasn't Goim, but it's from Japan. I put it up, posted right now, from Japan, and it's basically the same story again from Numbers chapter 22. And it's actually over there. It's happened in 826, to where it's a town over there, that where the geisha girls is actually brought into the celebration and everything, which actually starts on the 7/13, really, of this month right now, and actually goes to the 17th, again, just like Tammuz. And inside of that story right there, they go ahead and a son is chosen to be a sacrifice, which jumps us back over now to Genesis 22, where the story of Isaac, okay, or Esau with a C, is told, and he's looking for, where's the sacrifice? Who's going to be the sacrifice? He's told to go sacrifice his son. It's Abraham. Now, and remember, up to a certain point, and that is the revelation of Genesis. The Genesis revelation is really Revelation 13:18. And that number, he said, hey, which is the number of a man, semicolon, which is also the number of the beast. All right? And so, man is put together with 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. Okay? And that doesn't necessarily mean man in the aspect, well, let's put that in 3D man, not Adam, not Ha-Adam, okay, not Ha-Adam, meaning, the very first atom, meaning atom, okay, which a 6 protons, neutrons, and electrons consist of. We're going back to energy. But what happens is they go ahead and then within that same 13:18 of Revelation, they go ahead and say, which is also the number of the beast. Okay? And going back to Genesis 22, we also see where that sacrifice is also told to be Isaac, in which what happens is he reaches over, and this is where the astrological signs come back in. He looks over in the thicket of the bush. He says, hey, don't kill him, don't kill him, don't kill him. Angel show, don't kill him. Look over in the thicket of the bush. The voice of God comes out. Look over in the thicket of the bush. And so he provided, this is where the name, as they spoke it out, to be Jehovah Jireh, or Yireh, all right, provides the sacrifice. All right. Now going back to Japan's story, as they sacrificed their son. It didn't say sacrifice a boy. It didn't say a girl. Sacrifice a boy. All right. And in that sacrifice, as I put in the definition what sacrifice is, you see, hey, sacrifice involves the blood. Why? Because blood is thicker than mud, as stones, sliding the family stones. You know, this is a family affair. Blood is thicker than mud. Blood is thicker than mud. Even reminded me, reminiscing on the story that I was sharing with you, to where, hey, man said, hey, who's God? I can do the same thing that God can do, you know, and so he says, okay, God comes down and everything, you know, this is the story, and he says, okay, well, show me then. And so he goes to pick up the mud. He said, no, I created that. You put that back down. But now man was ignorant inside of his own blown up ego, and said, no, I'm going to go ahead and create it anyway. And so that goes us back down to Genesis. And in the beginning, the Elohim created the heavens and the earth. Okay? So we jump back, started up here at Revelation 13:18. So now we flip it. It's like I said, this is the Genesis of Revelation, Revelation of Genesis. And so we go to Revelation 13:18, and it ends at 13:18. The chapter ends right there. And that chapter is Abraham didn't exist. It said Avram. Again, back to the Ram again, the Ram. So that brings that of Mars, okay, back in. Mars and everything back in. You know, the 88. The 88 is the closest. The cyclic cycle for Mars, and that's the closest. Around the sun is 88. All right. But again, that was Avram. It had nothing to do with Ham. It had nothing to do with Ham. So we see where from Noah, which again, in Numbers 23:7, or Numbers 27:3, we see Noah is not actually, and Noah is said to be of, as we, with melanated people, we can produce, whether it be a high yellow to a dark black to a white, which we call leapers or lepers, which really turned into Nimrod, which is Namar, okay, as he took on the leopard and even picked up the lion. He picked up the lion and held the lion in his hand. And going back to the stars, we see, or the constellation, it is said inside of our constellation that Leo is that of the sun, okay, and Lionheart and everything. But that's only in the Greek, okay? Over inside of Vedic astrology, we see the Cancer, okay? Karga is that of the heart, all right? Even as, we don't necessarily hear cancer in the back. We hear cancer in the lung, cancer in the stomach. Here's cancer. So all of that is located right next to the spleen, all right? Next to the stomach. you know, large and small intestine, large intestine, bladder, you know, all of that was right there. And so it goes back to even the building of the temple to understand it is not just the outer temple they were talking about, because even when we started again with everything, we started on the inside first. So the story we're seeing of the story itself is simply the body structure, and it's not simple though. But we do have to follow each word. Word has what? The numerical value in the Ivrit is what? 206. And that is the main 206 bones within inside of our bodies that we, this is all uh, structured around. So if the body is structured around the 206, meaning the word, then who was called the word? Yeshua, right? Yeah, Yeshua. And because it was not necessarily Ha-Adam or Kadmon, we see Yeshua. And Yeh is fluid. It is not necessarily water. No, I'm sorry. Yeh is liquid. It's not necessarily water, though. It could be any type of liquid. And then the Jinn is out of fluids. So now we're talking about, before Sosos Trero said time is fluid. The time doesn't exist. Now we understand the fluids that are going on, along with the liquid, and how that came to my reality is even every instance that you walk into, you've worked inside of places or visited different places that have served different types of liquids, different types of fluids, and even for myself, I've done the same exact thing. And I think the last place I worked was that of Asonics. Asonics and everything. Asonics, sacral neurological, sacred neurological. I'm slipping right now. The music had got me off. Sacral, as we're talking about sacrifice, okay? Listen to the word. Sacral neurological modulations. Okay, so now we're talking about a produced electricity that is not necessarily natural, but is produced because was created for the intestines, and it's particularly, this is an all-woman company, okay? For women who had problem urinating, or, I guess like the moon, like I said, mooning. Blue moon, blue moon, blue moon. Well, blue noon, blue noon, blue noon. All right? Baby Debbie said, okay. And what happens is, when I looked that up too, I couldn't believe it. It said the vaginal inside the women starts being dry at 17 years old. And I thought that would only happen a little bit later in life. But no, it starts at 17 years old with a lot of women. And that's the reason why a lot of women can't even have children. Okay? But that's not even the point where I'm going at. What I'm going at right now is that of the company itself and what they did. And where am I going to right now? So this is talking about the serious clones and shit. The serious fucking clones. That's here. That man said, hey, I could do what God could do. Who was really the generator, operator, and destroyer. The real one, though. Okay? And we're not talking about Ray and Al either. And what happens is they, when they opened up their company, they didn't have this till a little bit later, but it's called Bulkamid. And this right here is the actual juice, the fluid, in which the women would actually, the women, meaning even whether it be, I personally think this was specifically for clones because there's so many inside the world right now. There's so many clones right now. And which they would go ahead and secrete their vaginal because it would be dry. And because they're not necessarily human, but humanoids, this right here would happen. All right? So all of those things came in, and with that right there, with all the different wars, tying this back into the fourth, all the different wars and everything, and the 14 generations, all the different wars that we've gone through and our ancestors have gone through are things that work out, as we go through these retrogrades, even the squarings right now. What we say it was what Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, and I believe it was Mercury. Okay, all of them that we're going through right now, these squaring. This is where all of our ancestors are coming through us to explain some things, and you go with their whole, because if you see like Sly and the Family Stone said, the power is in the blood, not the mud. Okay, the power is in the blood, not the mud. That's even Christianity, but it's not just that. We're just talking about all the different sacrifices, and so and that's the trade-off. So the blood sacrifices are really the trade-off for 3D knowledge. It's not even on a quad level. It's not even on a quadromechanic level. It's only on a 3D level, even though people think, they're doing quad mechanics and shit. Even though they think they're doing quad mechanics, And then you even have quad mechanics. We have dimensions within every dimension. Multi-dimensions within every dimension. And then you have octaves. As these sirens are coming, you have octaves. And that octave again is going back up to what? 8. Going back to that 8 again. So this is how these dimensions and everything are on top of us right now. And so whether it be the 14, pieces of Osiris, she had to go ahead and pull together, and she couldn't find a phallus. And I'm going back to to Kuan Yin right now. To Kuan Yin, because she and Janet from Colorado, or no, Annette Kundasalo. What's her name? Janet Lewis. No, Annette Kunda Lewis, the judge. And I wonder if she knows Patty by any chance. I'm pretty sure she does. Patty was Supreme Court Justice, and she's a justice over in there in Greeley. So I'm pretty sure, they done ran across some things together. I know both of them. I mean, like I said, I've been to Greeley, and more than a few times. And Patty, I was with her showing her how to do her little first back flips. She was already doing them, or trying to get them better to do it where she could do a standing free hand and everything, no hands, you know. And hey, she done flipped all the way up into a damn Supreme Court justice position. You know what I'm saying? All right, I don't know what kind of flipping she had to do, but she did pretty good. Bravo and brava to all of that. So kudos to all of those things. These successes, these Sukkot, these many nights of Sukkot to give you successes at these different things, And yeah, so these are the things that I was sitting up, looking really into and feeling, especially with me and my mom, and watching her, because she is fire. She's sad. It's like, oh my goodness, and I mean everybody did. I mean, I would sit back and I laugh. I really laugh and everything when she would tell the stories, because she pulls you in and sits you down. She put it really sit you down, and it wasn't like a commanding way, It wasn't in a commanding way like you're going to listen to me. I mean, I think I put a couple of letters up there to show you her demeanor, which was really cool. She goes, "Hey, I love you. I'm not going to meddle inside of your life and everything, as far as women, but don't get married. I'm telling you, don't get married," because she always said, "Watch out for Mother Eve. Don't get married until you know this woman is the one, And but if you need me, I'm here to give you some advice, And so she left it like that, and which is cool. Never, get it. You're out of line. Never, ever did she say you're out of line or get it. Yeah, because see, this was her second mission. Okay, she was not the first. The first was actually a rose, and she was sacrificed as a baby. So, me and my mom took the contract to come in as Rosalie. Took the contract to come in and say, well, I'm gonna go ahead and take her mission and take my mission too. And so she been watching her go through all of these things, and when she called me up, even though when we was fighting and everything, I didn't agree, but she had to complete her contract without saying nothing. We never did go out, and it kicks I kick my butt sometimes to where I say, hey, I'm not taking him to the movies and shit. I'm going to kick it with me and my mom. But she always demand, I felt it without even, pressing into it. She always say, go take him to the movies. Because why? She needed her space. And I saw that on day one. I saw how much space she needed on day one when I walked out on, again, when somebody's demanding a date and time to show her fucking strength in Aries. Acting like she was a motherfucking emperor. All right? And I got to go back to fucking Mystical Rose, 1111. She said, I don't see why fucking the emperor is giving to Aries. I think Aries should be the fucking devil. Okay? I got to agree. And that Capricorn. And Capricorn should be the emperor. Okay? And so with that right there, it's kind of in line from with the India, and I think even Western astrology, but I think I just heard it too, to where Miss Excuse me.
Quiero conocer tu mensaje.
Mensaje, message, baby. Woo! Message. So, message right there. Oh no, it told me to be quiet for a minute. So, yeah, so uh, Miss Mary had stated, I guess it was the father, you know, the father and so forth. So that's in line with being the emperor, okay? Capricorn as opposed to the devil. And what happens is she pulls me out to come out of prison after my 13, or 11 and a half on this one right here to make a full 13, to come out on her birthday. I guess, and I told everybody to be quiet, don't let nobody know. But no, she had to go ahead and show her, what I guess whoever she was fucking, to go ahead and show, hey, she could have some pull to go ahead and pull a motherfucker out. So the celebration is not necessarily centered around her, but she split even that time, that the reunion that I wanted to go ahead and have with, with the family, even with each of them, right? But she wanted it to go ahead and do for herself, for herself. All of that glory, glory for herself, you know? And not knowing that, like I said, afar is really dirt. It's really dirt. Even as we're talking about, going back to the story, Genesis and everything, the story, I was saying is, the man said, well, hey, I could do the same thing as God. And he goes down and reach up to pick up the dirt, okay? Or the soil. Soil and dirt is different. Soil has some nutrients in it. Dirt does have but it's different. It's quality. Is different inside of that. And even along with that word afar is the word that intertwines inside of that right there, and it's rubbish, meaning like trash. So we come in, and then I think she was actually born on April Fool's Day, and they gave her April 2nd so she really wouldn't have a fucking complex, But anyways, I was really looking at all these things at that point in time, on top of Rico Sparks, and listen to Sparks too. And that got me too with freaking 4th of July. Rico Sparks, okay? He's from Texas and have been over in Deutschland, 20 years, And what had got me with him, first of all, the sparks and everything reminded me. And we were going out. We had just came back from someplace doing some type of small event. Really wasn't large scale, small event. And he goes ahead, and we want to still go get something to eat. And I had my little car. I've been over here, like I said, got my license, got my car and everything. And so he wanted to drive because he didn't want to. He wanted. I guess. Oh, I didn't know it was. We had the little girl too. We had the lady he was dating. Had a little girl. So we had to put the child seat in. That he wanted to sit next to. Julie was her name. Yeah, Julie. Wanted to sit next to Julie, so he wanted to drive. So I said, okay, fuck it. I said, you could drive? I said, yeah, you could drive. And so we get in, and I see him put it in the gear, okay? And I couldn't get it out because he put the shit in reverse. But he gunned it, and we went backwards, and busted the damn window, and then so that's what, the 4th of July again, busted the window, and I'm like saying, damn. Confirmation again. I said, damn, my damn window busted. And he never fixed it, you know. Gave me a few dollars here, you know, maybe 100 or something like that. I have no idea. And so I had to go ahead now and put some plastic on it and go up and down these, you know, the Autobahn over there, you know, you're going at high speed. So that shit was, something else, you know what I'm saying? And so all these things is like rushing through. And then on the top of that, see, Reeks, the whole time, Reeks was, you know, because of I, okay, his song itself, I. Reeks was slowly dying. And I would see it. I would see him in the coffin, different places. And it wasn't until I left and I got back here that I found out he did go ahead and pass away. I did go visit him two different times in the hospital. I went to go visit him 2 different times, took, you know, and he thing about it, they had a open relationship, open relationship, and it was cool, you know, however everybody do their thing. And so all of those things was flushing through me, you know what I'm saying? You don't just, when you meet different souls, it's not necessarily a thing of remembrance or being stuck in the past, but that's what that whole day is about, remembrance, right? 1776, which is the 7-6, which is right today. 7-6, tomorrow be 7-7. It's really 7-7 right now because it's nighttime right now. And so all these things come rushing in. And even when people, so what happens with people, it doesn't matter what profession we're in or if we don't necessarily have one, you know? Going into a job, going into relationships, coming out of a job, leaving a job. Sometimes you say, fuck this job, take this job and shove it, you know? Walk on out that way, or you might get fired, okay? It might get let go because of, you know, we're changing our direction right now, and I don't think you, or as they told me right here, you don't fit our culture. You don't fit our culture. You confirmation. And so, I mean, with this last one, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, it was cool because I kid you not, even the braggart ass security guards, which he was badass martial artist, badass. He taught motherfuckers inside the military and shit. Okay, badass. All right. He was their head security and main security, but the head security, Jason, and he's still the coolest motherfucking dude. I kid you not. Jason Pillar, the Pillar. He's cool as fuck. He was a sheriff, everything. And so he came in and he shook my hand. The security guard that was on, so they had 2 security guards because it was early and they're making their switch. And Uriel shook my hand. Everybody shook my hand walking out, you know. And the reason why, again, is because I told them about that whole fucking operation, and I was wondering when they was gonna go ahead and say whatever they was gonna say. And so, but it was just a respect, you know, on the battlefield. It was respect on the fucking battlefield. Okay? So many different, you know, when you get respect from the fucking battle, from a company that came in number 1 on the motherfucking stock market, from the security guards, from the security, the head motherfucking security, The fucking and they came and shook your hand as they let you go. Not even my fucking manager who hired me, the director and shit came. He never said one word throughout the whole thing. So all of that stuff right there is what them sounds like that go through, whether it be to a loss or a victory within oneself that we complete. All of those things go through the mind, body, and soul. But back to me, mama. Victories, victories, victories in the presence of victories I'm speaking in right now. And even in a situation that she put herself in with the purpose of a lot of the things that are happening right now that we're seeing is that and knowing that everybody's going to go ahead and like I said, if you have seen some of the what do I say, have seen some of the, if you have, well, basically let me just tell you a story because I lost what I was going to say. If you, what she did is she buried both of her parents, passed away inside of the same bed. All right? She went and got them, passed away in the same bed. And I don't mean just regular passed away either. I mean, the life was taken out of her. Again, for the same thing that I'm going through right now. Monetaries. Even again, shoot an arrow between an arrow behind an arrow on November 3rd. My grandpa, Hilliard Humphrey, meaning king. Hump is a mountain, king of the mountain, and he signed his name with an X. She had to teach him how to do that. But always things came to him. Houses, property, everything came to him. Everybody was fucking pissed off about that. Everybody. And my grandmother, Ethel, she didn't let nobody have shit. I'm talking about even the fucking, even the feds, to whatever degree, because she made it to where she didn't have Social Security. She didn't save up for Social Security. She put the numbers in, whatever she put it in, she put that shit to pull it out, and fucking, so she utilized it. All right? So both of them, now he got with all the women and everything because he didn't know how to sign his fucking name or just to read, you know? And even mama, she's like, hey, I wish I had gone to school, but all of them, to include my Auntie Susan, which is a lily, okay? Like Bruce Lee said, he doesn't even like roses. He'd rather have lilies. Okay, so we got both of them inside of there. You see what I'm saying? And she was the first one to go inside on the brown side, on the nigger side, okay? Nigger meaning not in a derogatory sense from Nigeria, nigger, smart niggers. You know what I'm saying? She was the first one to go on that side from the brown and the most beautiful one. So I'm sure whatever they did with all the sisters, they didn't like her. They didn't like her for one fucking bit. Confirmation again. Confirmation again. And so all those things are, like I said, with even the death of the tower, and which was done again by the government because of free electricity and so forth. Even 187 centimeters or meters, 187 took it down. All that energy right there, and again, switching back to the story of the firstborn son, and even the day in which, what's it is again, Matsuri, I want to say Goim Matsuri, but Goim is nations, and I can't remember right now because I just had learned it and I didn't write it down. But I have it on the post. But the date that it starts up is 7/13. 7/13 coming up around the corner right now, and this was the date again in which Qatar, Mbezi Beach of Tanzania, Saeed retrieves the paperwork to have the stamped date, and this is the date I got married on, 7/13, John D's birthday. Okay, John D's nuts, as Rena says it. All right, was actually going through. Everything was stamped to go ahead and say. So what? So what is that? And in that process, what happens is Saeed comes back and says the reason why everything is going, and I overheard him talking to somebody else. It's like he said, Hanuman. So this is Han. And Anus, the Anus and everything. You know what I mean? Arizona State University, Arizona National University. Yeah. So all the Hans, Hanu, had went ahead to go ahead and again, basically, if you're the one that's actually is going to you, okay? And unlike the unruly cry motherfucking baby people like Rosie, I don't care who's got next. Well, a lot of people, they're not people anymore. We've gone through this phase and everything. They've already graduated. A lot of listen to the confirmations. A lot of your ancestors give a fuck who gets next. All right, who's got next? It is not just going to your young, greedy, dumbass, and I do mean ass in the sense of a lowercase g God, that you don't even get a capital G because you were not the generator, operator, and destroyer of your own self. And what I mean by that, the serpent, because we're all serpent. Okay? E.L.F, extra low frequencies. You did not destroy that shit to elevate. Confirmation. You didn't destroy that shit in order to elevate. And so, along with and these are the things that we're talking about with the learning about those other planetaries, learning about those times of the year, learning about these different cycles to know thyself that we're talking about. Do. Hey, that's 4 right there. That's 4 right there. Doubled up on it. To know thyself and change, and even you have to go kill that shit within to change. And it's not even for you. It's really for a reflection. A reflection, not to collect, not to be collecting motherfuckers, others fucking energy and motherfuckers other. We can go ahead and share, borrow traits, and matter of fact, the main thing of it is giving credit to, because if you don't give credit to where you learned it from, then you're not showing respect. And that came from the 14 members, the 14 generations of our ancestors and so forth. All right? That's what it comes from. And if you don't understand how generational things go, then all you have to do, like she said, if you don't know your history, then you're doomed to repeat it. Now, a lot of people are giving astrological signs, and even I got to go back to Lady Mary, Miss Mary, of Soulful Revolution, in the aspect of she states, "Say, I don't necessarily do a whole lot of mundane astrology, okay? Dealing with things of the world and so forth and everything, because, but at the same time, it's good to know our fortes and the grand, because like they say, billionaires study astrology. So I get it. At the same time, we've got to definitely be knowing that of the mundane things in life or the lower aspects, which are, she's talking about the greater keys of Solomon on the astrological ash. Okay, that's the greater keys. Now, the lesser keys of Solomon are talking about those mundane things, even in the history and so forth like that, or her story covered up as history, or made to look like his, as her story made to look like history. You know what I'm saying? Those types of things. Why? Because when you see even the cycles and patterns inside of there, and when we hear the sounds, it's a celebration, but it can sound like war at the same time. Okay, it sounds like war. So when we look at the war cycles and everything, we see even when we go back and see music is used as war. Okay, brother, 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 there are far too many of us dying. We've got to find a way home to bring some loving here today. Hey, hey, hey. Picking sides, picking lines, don't punish me with brutality. Come on, talk to me so that we can see, oh, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. Won't we see what's going on? Ooh, yeah. That's what he's singing about. And even at the same time of sexual healing, a dualistic, because this is what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And Marvin Gaye, he just put it out there. He was gay. Like it. He didn't hide nothing. He didn't hide nothing like some people do. You know what I'm saying? He didn't hide it. And so when we go ahead and can appreciate those differences and talents that people might have, you know, uh, then we can go ahead and look. That's more into the mundane things. Okay, and those timelines right there, those are doing it. He's talking about war. So, so one of the two icons and everything that we all know that came out in the same fucking year. Okay, I think 83 days separated their birth and everything. And that was Prince, Nelson Rogers, and Michael Jackson. 83 days separated their birth, so that was the 11. All right, visionaries, both of them visionaries, and they came out in 1958. So if we go back 58, and we go back to what's closest war to 58, because it's a cycle. We go back, and that's 19. We go back a generation. We go back a generation. Ends up being like 1945. No, that's 8 years. 47. Let's go back 8 years. That's an octave. Go back 8 years. 1945. All right. And 1945 is actually World War II. World War II was actually, when we talk about Mother's Day, and forget her name right now. I think I want to say Anne, but it was Anne something. But she was wanting to make Mother's Day, because of the wars. It might have been World War One. She was speaking this in, but I'm just looking for it in general. And we're talking about mothers. We're talking about generations. We're talking about, you see what I'm saying? Theme. Okay. They wanted to go ahead and make it into a national holiday, and she didn't want it because it's just on a card. This is a card. It had nothing to do with spending. We got that. I love this right here. Whatever that sound is. Okay, that's just confirmation. It's just it's another sound here on a bicycle. It wasn't just a card to write, but to take some time with your mother, you know, and appreciation. All right, good, bad, or ugly. Take some time. But no, they wanted to commercialize it, make it a hall, Prince Hall Mark, which is mark meaning land. So they just basically took that motherfucking shit and fucking made an X on it and said this is going to the Prince Hall fucking uh, monetary fund for all of those who are, of the Masonic members, you know, whether it be Scottish Rite, York Rite, or whatever, it's going to be on a global scale like that. So we can extract the energy from it, but make business. And so that's how Mother's Day was established, and she fought to her death to go ahead and change it back, but it was out of her hands. So these are the things that I was talking about going through, your thoughts and everything, squaring up with them, okay? And you don't want to jump ship and go out of the thought forms. You don't necessarily want to jump ship and go out of the thought form. Why? Because they're speaking through us, especially through all of these retrograde periods. All of them. In Cancer and Zadik, which means correctness. Just say correctness, just being correct. We don't have to say right. It's been righteousness or leftistness. That's that shit. That's the right left party of fucking this legalism government bullshit. You know without speaking what the fuck is correct. All right? And so, even if we're in relationships, you don't necessarily want to, and especially you're not healed, you're not completely healed, or even have that you gone mulled over that of the greater and lesser yod, okay? Yod, okay, of things. You don't want to just jump ship because you're still married. You're still married. And probably haven't gone over through all of the emotions, even though we're get up and have to go to work, or we got different contracts and so forth that we have to go ahead and fulfill. And not only that, what it does, we know for a fact, in giving away things, that it comes back. So we're doing it out of a dualistic nature, and we're going to go ahead and we want to do that. We want to do that. Because in times of increase, there's decrease. And so in order to go ahead, they say 10, if everything is correct, 10 tortoises, I don't care if it's 10, and 10 is the number of completions. 10 tortoises, whether one is positive, if it's the number of completion, it is nothing can stop that shit. Nothing can stop that. That's why they reduced to 613, which are 248 positive commandments, to 365 negative, which we can make one. All we have to do is break one of those commandments, one of those precepts, one of those concepts. These things are set. Those things are set. They're not mutable. Those are set. 10 things. So that's the reason why we had 10 days inside of fucking our systems, our calendars before. It's a 10-day system, right? So it's still running and existing. That's really what these days are really upon right now. These celebrations are really on those days right now. It's just been moved. Everybody said, well, hell, since we got to move, we're going to go ahead and create a 12, 10 over a 12, and they're going to borrow one from the, to even out the time and everything for this new system, this Gregorian calendar that we're setting up here. We're going to borrow one from fucking, really, from February. From February. We're going to take February because that right there is really the start of the motherfucking damn system. All right? The first of the 10 months right there. And we know that because the Fae, the women, okay, Bru, and Aries, levels and everything. Aries is levels, whether it be levels of brewing the dirt, okay, or the cauldron, all right, of the alchemy that one does learn in order to produce inside of this world right here. 111 on the clock, 111 on the clock. Caught it again. I haven't even looked up too many times. That's crazy. Saw it on 10, okay? But crazy. Cool. And yeah, so I'm gonna borrow one from February. But shit, that's August. Who did that? August. Why did I do that? Because that was the augmentation and everything. Augmentation in order to go ahead. What? Octave. They did it for October for octave. Okay. They even did it for July. All right. And what? October, December. Everyone who borrowed and everything. And which added on to the 360. Okay, because there's only 360 in the circle, but they went ahead and made it 365. So that's how we got that. But if we go ahead and reduce it back down to 13 months, to 364 with the 10 days there, it actually comes back up to 13 times 10 is going to give us that 364, I believe. And then we're just going to go ahead and rest for a day. So all of those things is something that we don't necessarily, like I say, we have to go to our day to day, but if we're married to those things, So you can't just get out of a marriage and go to the next marriage. You have to go ahead and contemplate. This is Quan. That's Quan. That's why Kuan Yin. That's contemplating. She's contemplating yin even. So that's the kun. Kun is oppression. Contemplating kun. So we're contemplating this oppressive thoughts or depressive thoughts or conjunctions that we are in right now that are moving on the grandeur scale, that in the greater keys and even the mundane scale. And in that mundane scale, as we saw, that war of Second World War II ends inside of 45, right? One octave up comes to 1958. Two icons come out on the stage and shit. Bam, Michael Jackson and Prince and everything, right? Go ahead and give it another oct. Another oct, okay? What does that bring us to what? That brings us to what? 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66. 65, 1965, 1966. This is where, matter of fact, the war ended. We had a generation to bring some music in and everything and speak about wars and all that stuff and everything. It was changing. You saw the education and everything was going a certain way, but they wanted to go ahead and loop it. They wanted to go ahead and put an infinity on it. Right? So that's what, Vietnam came in. Another war came in. Okay? And but during 65 and 66, this is where they went ahead and established churches, and the Satanic Church was actually born. Mahabone, Mahabone, Abracadabra. As far as speaking words, word uh, for this era came in, and it had to because they knew that Aquarius would be here right now. That's the reason why they told us about that too. Okay, during that time, this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Those are all the songs they're playing, and so all those things had to play out as give me 1 second. As Mary Soul Source, Mary Jo of Soul Revolution, Soulful Revolution stated, you know what I'm saying, had to play out like a play, a theater, like a theater. Even as Bruce Lee said, you know, a good fight is like a small play. And when one moves in, you move back. And when they move back, you move in. And if you had a chance to hit, you do not hit. Why? Because it hits itself. It hits itself. But that play is really a fight. And you want to go into a fight, and he says, but to be ready and so forth. You want to go to, and that's a fight whether it be the physical fight, as trainers, boxers train for, confirmation, physical fight, or that of uh, the greater keys and lesser keys of Yedidiah. And that's Solomon Roth. That's Rothschild. That's all that shit is. And that's again the soul that of Latin, Om, of Hindu, and An of Egypt, Prince of An. Those are created entities. But we're talking about Yedidiah, which is where we get Jedidiah, Jedi Knights, and all that type of things come from. And I got to go with fucking E40, Star Wars, no. Yoda, yeah, right. And so this is how we started this thing right now in the beginning of summer. Okay, the beginning of summer. And what I mean by that is that was the solstice. Okay, that's the solstice and everything. And during the solstice right here, we have here, everybody's waiting to get the sun and everything, especially, school, that type of thing or something like that. Break, you know what I'm saying? Get out, have fun in the sun, right? Wow, I saw some blue orb type of thing. I thought I saw it. I did. Wow, cool. That's the first time I really saw it. I've seen them before or afterwards, but okay, so the image of what we're talking about is that of war. 16. And we have enthusiasm and everything, a war, chessboard, enthusiasm. And so, again, this is exactly what Mary had said. Exactly. Well, we're just mimicking what Bruce has said, because remember he left in 1973. Okay, 1973. So we're borrowing, we're feeling what we did, tap into that, and there's a good play, theater, even as she spoke on, I think it was Puck. I got to go look at that. And Shakespeare. Shakespeare is inside the scriptures too, okay? Psalms 46. 46 words in, you see shake. Go to the bottom of the verse, 46 word back, spear. So we see the artistry in it, good, bad, or ugly. It's up to you. It's up to us to extract, because every, just like there's 14 generations, I'm talking about 14 countries went over there. Every single generation has artistry inside of that, and it is up to us to extract it, even as Job 8:8 says, well, if you know everything inside of here, now go search out their fathers. Okay? Job 8:8. 8:8, 88 keys. 88 on the constellation. 36 on the keys. As again, I think it's Lady Molly, Miss Lady Molly has spoke to that of Pisces, and I think it was Jupiter, to where we'll be another 36 years before that conjuncts again. So that is equated also to that of the 36 constellation of the northern hemisphere, and then leaves us with the 52 in the southern hemisphere. Keyboard, 52 white keys, 36 black keys. And using Nina Simone with the war, Alabama's got me so upset. Tennessee's make me lose my rest. Waxes make me lose my rest. Everybody knows about Mississippi, goddamn. Okay. A play, it's like a fight. A good play. And we just be ready. So, and the ancient kings made music in order to honor merit, and offered it with splendor to the supreme deity, inviting their ancestors to go ahead and be present when at the beginning of summer, electrical thunder comes rushing forth out of the earth again, and the first thunderstorms refresh nature, a prolonged state of tension to resolve. Joy and relief make themselves felt. So too, music has the power to ease the tension within the heart and loosen the grip of obscure emotions. Right? And so, it said rulers have used the natural taste of music, and they've elevated it, and they've regulated it. Okay, that regulation, again, was the augmentation. Taken out of key of E, which is eternal, and putting it into an infinity. Okay, even in the 8, turn it back up. Now you got 808. And what's happened? We know what the 808. What does it do? Fucks us up. Right? But music was looked upon serious and holy, designed to pure the feelings of men. And that's why they regulated it, to fucking warp it. And it fell to music to glorify the virtues of heroes and to thus construct a bridge. Okay? So the heroes are not necessarily heroes. They're not heroes. It's zero. I'm not going to. They're zeros, is what it is. Why? Because that Z is really an N, which means heir to the throne, and the O is really IN, which means fountain. But who's in the middle of that zero? It's And is fucking killed in Genesis 38:7, 37:8. 30 Genesis 38:7. He was killed. Okay? So that zero is not no hero. All right? And it doesn't necessarily give balance to anything either. It's just a directing vessel, a do. Okay? And we'll get to that one and come back to that. So they made a construct, okay, to the bridge to the world of the unseen. Okay, so in this temple, men drew near to God, and this is God on who made themselves God here. Okay, not upstairs like that. Not with the 808 shit. Yeah. Gods with pantomimes, and out of this, theater developed. Theater means two things, at least. One is that we go to a theater, and the other one is fucking war. Right? It's fucking war. Religious, now the religious comes in. Feeling for the creator. Okay, these are the people down here that's religious. We don't give a fuck about no fucking religion. We don't give a fuck about flags. We don't give a fuck about I go to this church. I don't give a fuck about all that shit. That's bullshit. Right? I don't give a fuck about that shit. We don't give a fuck about that shit. We know it ain't about that shit. But the creator, those are the creators of the world, was united. I mean, okay, so that's you and I. United Nations of the I. I's don't exist either. But it did when ED comes in there. ED is what, 5'4". Who's 5'4"? That's Africa. It was divided up into 54 states. So that's the United, as the United States went back home to where? Fucking Africa. Okay? The Akabulan, Al-Kebulan is Al, Ke is Kenya, Bu is war, Lan is really Nal or La, L-A, that's feminine, and A-N, that's An right there. Okay? So that A-N is 114. Goes back to the daughters, that goes back to the women. That goes back to the women. All right? That goes back to the women that made her story and called it his story. The yin. That's the yin. And that's within both male and female, because we are both yin and yang. So the feminine essence of us is what did this, and even our ancestors were a part of this, and these are the things that we're correcting right now. These are the things that we're correcting right now. All right? So they united with the most sacred. That's we just got finished with that word. I prefaced this whole thing with that word sacred. As we were talking about again, that of the sacrifices coming up here, you know, blood sacrifice rituals. Yeah. To keep this thing going, as they did, what? Even in certain families, we have what? Martin Luther King Sr., Martin Luther King Jr., Eugene Brown I, Eugene Brown Jr., Eugene Brown III, William I, William II, William III. So those are 3 generations. All right. And so within those 3 generations, now we see war again, because that's what it's about. As Prince lasted for 3 generations, 319 years, and he left at 57. He left at 57 on the dot on April 21st, which is really the 3rd month, okay? And leaving on the 21st reduces it down to 33, all right? Which is the day after Hitler's birthday on April 20th. So we look at those 3 generations in that type of aspect and everything, because 3 builds everything. So that's the reason why that triangle is there with the eye up top, that eye of Ra, or Lucifer, which is Lucy, is feminine, Fae is feminine, and Earth, which is Ray, in reverse, feminine. Okay? As the rays of the sun is called Die Sonne, which is feminine in Deutschland, in Dutch. Okay? And so what happens is so they dance in front of the ruler of heaven and everything, with these theaters as wars and so forth, and it is as representatives of humanity. They're not human, but they're representatives. This is the house of motherfucking Republicans and Democrats and shit. And then they just give a shake each other's hand, because they're all within the CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, foreign relations and shit too. Oh my god, like geisha girls. Oh my goodness, but geisha girls supposedly don't have sex. Supposedly, yeah. Okay, and so as representatives of humanity in higher regions, this uniting of the human past with the divinity in a solemn moment of religious inspiration. Now listen to the word. Stab Li Ish ED 5-4. A bond, James Bond, James Bond, 007, between God and man. That is the Moorish American Negro nationalist. Like Manning, M-A-N-N, yeah. And we just don't want to give them, like they're not smart. So that's the Moorish American nigger. Okay? From Niger, not derogatory, just from the word Niger, which is really nigger. Really it is. Okay, let's not put no J in that for that G. Why change that motherfucker J for a G? Fuck that shit. Nigger's a nigger, right? I know I've been called a couple one time. It's just really white niggers and black niggers. Niggers are smart, right? Let's keep it right. Keep it fair across the board. Play the piano. Keep it black and white. Even though we have all this color, keep it black and white. Because we're talking legal terms here. Technically, I guess we're dead. And they are representatives of humanity who take our motherfucking damn social security numbers and shit and all kinds of shit and be our motherfucking representation and everything. And they don't acknowledge us when we walk inside the courtroom on their ship of maritime law. They don't acknowledge motherfucker, We got to step through them to get on the boat. And if you ain't speaking the lingo, then they ain't going to acknowledge your motherfucking ass. But that's what you know. And I know. You know what I'm saying? You and I, You know, I know that you know that you know that I know. I know. I didn't think about that one. Oh, so, so they established a bond between God and man, and the ruler. Okay, so this ruler, the ruler. Who tells us? What did the teacher do? Spank you with the ruler? They spank you with the ruler. They spank me with the ruler. That's for damn sure. They tried to spank me with the ruler right now. I done did my 120. I done did my 120. You know, at this point stage, what I mean by 120 is that we supposed to a third of the stars fell. A third of the stars fell. Okay, and I respect my mother and my father, which is that of the earth and that of the heaven. So within that right there, and the earthly age years that I'm at right now, which is at 60, because I respect both, 60 and 60 is 120. I done did my 120. I done did my 120. I respect both, even the good and the bad. I respect both. Doesn't necessarily have to mean I have to like it. And lie, Li, and Ke, like Kenya, Lee and Key. I don't necessarily have to like it. No, I respect it for what it is. It is what it is. But I done did my own fucking 120 right now on this earthly realm for the earthly calculated years, which has nothing to do. That's only for this avatar. It has nothing to do with how many revolutions we've been here. It has nothing to do with that. Okay, absolutely nothing. So don't let these ideas that are the summation of Chinese culture, which is Confucius, don't let that shit fucking confuse you on fucking shit. Don't let that confuse. They tell you motherfuckers gonna be confused. Don't let that shit confuse you on shit. As has Saeed, especially Saeed's, the beloved ones. Oh beloved Saeed. Of the great sacrifice, and then we're going back to these motherfucking sacrifices again, you know what I'm saying? I said, of the great sacrifice, which at these rites. Okay, what rites is this? These are these motherfucking damn shakes, the spear rites, blood ritual rites that we're talking about that's happening, that we just had July 4th and everything. They had a death on that rite because they figured they had the right to take down motherfucking damn Nikola Tesla's, to kill his shit and give that 187, put that in the fucking PC code for 187, on a real copper. They're just mad because they couldn't motherfucking damn do it, so they had to go ahead and try and cop this shit, you know what I'm saying? It's really, Spock is shit, you know what I'm saying? COP with that S because he's serpent, so that's Spock, you know what I'm saying? They had to go ahead and, put their victory sign up, or a motherfucking like Winston Churchill, you know what I'm saying? They tried to go put their fucking victory sign up like Spock, you know what I'm saying? Only intelligence. I don't fucking think so, brother. Other. I don't fucking think so, bro. Sis stars. No, not fucking this time, homies. Homie, don't play that. Remember that shit? Homie, don't play that. Bam! So, who could holy moly, Jesus, and there's many Jesus. So don't take it personal, son, Al. Don't take it out in the alley. Don't take it personally like that, you know what I'm saying? But you help comprehend this sacrifice that we're talking about. It's not necessarily in the physical form, but it's the sacrificial, that sacrifice that you must make for yourself, within yourself, that can make the rules for your own sovereignty within this world as though it were spinning in on, it says on his hand. Nah, fuck that. Why the fuck we want to spin it on his hand? Why the fuck we want to spin it on her hand? We made this motherfucker shit. So it's spinning in our yard. Fuck a hand. Fuck a hand. Because you don't want to touch that energy. That energy that they got, that shit is fucking is manufactured. It's manufactured. They don't have souls. So that's what we're talking about. What we're going through these days. And again, we can't jump from one marriage to the next marriage. You know, we can contemplate, we can talk about different things along the way, you know, and just share. It's just it's energy, just like right now, you know, energy. And so people have to go ahead and wake up early in the morning. And what I mean by that is in the thing of MOURN, you have to go through that morning. And every morning isn't good morning. No, it's not good. It's not good in that sense of good. I mean, the word itself is jihad, or jihad, which is war, you know, morning, you know. Yes, in that sense right here, but it's not in a joyful sense a lot of the times, you know what I'm saying? You know, reality of it, especially if you're going through things on the levels that I'm sitting here talking about, because sometimes it's a solemn yard, it's a solemn day, it's a solemn just chill. Hey. I love it. I don't know who the ancestors are doing right now, but I'm talking about it's one of them days, like it's be days like that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And then they tell you to sum it up and have a good weekend. So then your weekend, you know, so all that shit right there is consciously, if one is we respond to that, then subconsciously our bodies and everything, you know, our mind body, our ka is going to feel that. And if you keep saying that like that, then the wavelength and the vibration and the energy in which you are restricting yourself from in real time, you know, is what's going to make you with it. And I don't care how one gets up to perform on the next day. Look at that. That shit is cool. To perform on the next day, if you're going through whatever it is you're going through. So be like that wolf, that lone wolf, you know what I'm saying? WOLF, and flow. And that's what I'm saying as far as, listen to the word, he said lone wolf. So even whether we're in marriages, jobs, relationships, even if you're passing the person every single day, that's, you see a relationship within that nod or what have you not. You know, sometimes I don't feel like nothing. There's nothing to, because of the vowels, the VOWLES, the vowel and the VOW that everybody took, the L's took, because of the vowels of the L's took, and put inside. See, we are constant, but because they took them vowels and put them between them letters and shit, nothing is constant. It's only sometimes until Zephaniah 3:9, a pure language, and pure that won't erupt. See, P-U-R-E is erupt backwards. A pure language that will not erupt is going to be restored. And you know what? You won't even hear it. We don't even have to speak. It's something you feel. Oh shit! I fucking love this shit, man. That's what I'm talking about. When you're stepping into that, oh my goodness, it's just like that fucking for you. You don't have to hit. It hits all by itself.